and welcome to Sonic Bytes, the freewheeling conversation and interview series for the eclectic music lover. This week, we're delighted to welcome our third musical guest on the podcast, Hannah Elkins. Hannah is a British-based R&B and soul pop artist, singer and songwriter from Bournemouth, living and performing in London. Inspired by artists like Lianne La Havas, Jessie, Ware and Rosie, Lowe, Hannah started writing her own music while studying at Leeds University and has since released 4 singles throughout 2019 and 2020, After the Midnight, Hideaway, Cloud9 and Breathe Deep, with her 5th eagerly awaited single Paradise being released this Friday. We first met Hannah playing on the same bill in Leo's band at a gig in Shoreditch, London, back in 2019. Her catchy songwriting and tastefully layered vocals, combined with impeccable production and soulful instrumentation, have had us hooked on her music ever since. In this episode, we discuss Hannah's songwriting process, performing on live streams and the story behind Good Evening, collaborative writing, working with the producer, starting her own record label, social media and release strategy, and much more. As always, if you're enjoying the podcast, follow us on Spotify, Apple or Stitcher, or subscribe to us on YouTube, as it really helps support the show and allows us to make even more freewheeling content. We hope you enjoy it.
And I've been a fan of you since, it was last March, wasn't it? We first played at the same bill together back in Road Trip in the Workshop. But I've been listening.
Yeah. Gosh, I forgot that was the first time we'd met.
It's ages ago, wasn't it?
Yeah. I think that was my first time actually gigging with a full band. So it was all.
Was it really?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that was the first time actually going out. Yeah, full band with my music. So the whole thing felt terrifying. I don't think I actually enjoyed it because the whole time I was just thinking, oh, what's going to happen? I was playing keys as well, and I don't think of myself as much of a keys player. So that was all I was thinking about as well. And I knew we'd set up some cool settings on the Nord. I'm not cool enough or down with the technology, so that was stressing me out.
It is kind of scary. It's like a very small screen and you kind of like, there's so many knobs on the Nord keyboard. You're just like, oh my God.
And if you just knock the wrong one, that's it. Completely different sound for the rest of the set. So, I thought I'd actually totally forgotten that was when we first met. That was a while ago now.
Yeah, I do remember, I think you were on soundcheck after us.
I think so.
Something like that. And I remember just putting my instruments in like this tiny back room thing. And then you guys started sound checking and I was literally like, wait, what? Like normally you expect like a random like rock band to, like the way the London weird gigging circuit works with these weird promoters, they kind of pair you up with like other artists that just
similar
acts.
acts.
And I remember you guys started sound checking. I was like, all right, okay, this is actually going to be like good this evening.
You get used to it with these gigs. They always put on quite weird mixes of music, but that was actually a nice one. I feel like everyone on the bill was really good and like a nice. It was like everyone was different, but you could all enjoy each other's stuff. Whereas I feel like sometimes you put on a bill with someone, you're like, oh, this is nothing like what I do, and then the audience come in and you're thinking they're gonna hate what I'm doing. No, the fear is setting in. So no, that was really. I actually really enjoyed that gig. Well, afterwards, I think the relief of getting through it was the more enjoyable part for me. But I
guess you've been gigging quite a lot since. I mean, you've also gigged in lockdown as well.
Yeah, trying to find ways to make it work. But I think I spent a bit more time with the band. It's been a shift around because obviously people in London have got a million things going on. So sort of finding people that could commit a bit and help me just find kind of the sound I was comfortable with, which takes a long time. I still don't think I'm there, to be honest, with the live stuff. But it's all kind of trial and error. I think I'm quite used to doing the stripped back sets. That's where I feel
sure
I really know what I'm doing, because I'm like, okay, well I can just sing. Whereas in the band I'm a bit like, I don't want to steal from someone's moment. I need to get over that.
Oh. How much are you like directing the band in terms of like your vision, or are you working alongside like the band people as your sort of equal sort of thing?
Yeah, it's definitely collaborative. I think because a lot of the time I'm not always sure what I want. I don't want to be someone who plays. I know I don't want to play the same as you'd hear on the record. I want it to be like you come and hear the live stuff and you're a bit like, okay, you understand the genre, but you'd go to Spotify or wherever you're going to stream it and be like, oh, this isn't what I was expecting. That's my favourite thing about when you go to see artists. You're just like, oh, they've brought this new live element. So I'm kind of cautious of that. And also I think a lot of the stuff I have out is kind of got a bit of an electronic sound to it. And actually with a band, I'm like, let's just make it sound as much like a band in a room as possible, because that's what we are. And also, like, somehow I've got really amazing musicians who have agreed to play my stuff. I don't know why. So I'm just like, we need to showcase that, because that's what they're there for. They're amazing musicians. Why not just show off, flex your skills?
Yeah, and I feel like it's also the type of music, the sort of genre, that type of like soul R&B disco thing. I feel like with the instrumentalists, there's so much space for for them to do their own little thing, but not necessarily have to like guitar solo themselves into like in front of you or step over you or anything, or step over the songs.
Yeah, definitely. Oh yeah, I'd love to go into a bit more disco. That'd be great. Get the flares out.
Yeah.
Not quite there yet. Need to work on the costume, I think.
Yeah, I was reading your Spotify bio, and you mentioned like Lianne La Havas and Jessie Ware and Rosie Lowe. And when I read Jessie Ware, I was like, oh, that's like the same. Like, obviously you're not ripping each other off, but it's like the same strain of that sort of, I guess, retro disco vibe, but it's using modern production. And her newest album is such a great example amazing of that, which is incredible. What's a pleasure. But I mean, is that something, like, how did you arrive at that sort of sound in terms of your upbringing, and also like how did you get to this type of music?
I don't know, it's hard to say, isn't it? I think I grew up with really diverse music in the house. I was a massive musical theatre fan growing up. I was in all the shows. So that was kind of my thing, I guess. And then I studied music at Leeds University, and I did classical singing, and for a while thought that I wanted to become a classical opera singer. Which actually is not me at all, but I think when you're doing something and you're enjoying it and people are saying like, oh, you could have a go at this, you kind of get a bit sucked in. So I even went and did a year abroad in the Netherlands at a conservatoire out there, and I think that was kind of the year that I realised this isn't for me, actually. I really enjoyed it, and I think it's a great way to learn how to use my voice, but they kind of pushed me to learn piano, and because I didn't want to learn piano, I decided that I would songwrite instead as a way of learning the piano. Then final year. So I suppose in terms of songwriting, I was quite late to the whole discovery, because a lot of people you speak to have been like, oh, I've been writing songs since I was 7 years old, and I'm just like, how? I just didn't have the words
example here
to say anything. Yeah, exactly. It's amazing. I was not that person. And then I remember just stepping into my final year at uni and being like, right, I'm just going to go out with my tiny little keyboard and gig. And I still didn't really know what kind of music kind of got me ticking and what I wanted to put out there. I don't think I'd found that yet until I started writing, and then I think it just naturally comes into a sound, and you're a bit like, oh, I think this is what I am. I'm still not completely sure what it is. I think I stepped into the studio with Nico and Elliot, and they were the ones who helped me kind of craft that and actually realise these are the artists I've been listening to all along, and they're the people I kind of want to sound like. Jessie Ware wasn't even... I've always loved Jessie Ware and I've always listened to it, but I hadn't ever thought, to me, she's just so huge. I was like, I could never write anything that would sound something like she would do. So yeah, it was all late discovery, and still very much learning every time I write something.
Yeah. Oh, that's really interesting, actually, because I was listening to a podcast recently of Emily King, talking, who's just the most incredible artist in the entire world. Like, yes, all hail. But she was talking about how, because she started on a major label and then she moved, and then she sort of didn't really work for her, and she kind of got carried away with that, and then she went the sort of unsigned route and met this guy called J Most, who's like a producer.
Yeah, he's great.
Guitarist, yeah, who's just insane and plays like 5 instruments at the same time. But I think it's really cool when you meet like just one person or a couple of people, and then you absorb those sounds, and then suddenly you've got this new thing that I guess you wouldn't have planned. You would never have planned to get there in the final stage, right?
Yeah, definitely. I think that's Elliot and Nico for me, actually. The kind of people that when like, oh, you could sound a bit like this, and all of a sudden now the songs, I think, are starting to form a bit more of a consistent sound that I'm just like, I couldn't have done that on my own. So it's definitely the people I think you surround yourself with, and if you find the right people, then great, because you can just churn them out.
You can definitely, having sort of listened rather obsessively to your Spotify, so all the songs that you brought out so far, you can definitely hear like a progression in terms of sort of like the sound, and sort of like especially the last two, like After the Midnight and Breathe Deep, like there's definitely sort of a consistency of like vibe to them that you can really feel like kind of every time I'm sort of excited for a Hannah Elkins track, I know what I'm getting, which is really, really cool. And it's really cool to see the sound sort of like, like it's really nice, like at this stage, to hear someone sort of progress and develop like that, and sort of be able to sort of almost hear it in real time. Is really, really cool. But so Nico is the producer, right? And Elliot's the guitarist.
So both of them produce. So my first single, After Midnight, they both I say mostly Nico produced that, and Elliot was there just playing absolutely every instrument possible. He's one of those, very frustrating. And then Elliot's kind of now become my producer, and actually Nico does all the mixing and mastering.
Sure.
More so actually because Elliot's based in London. We're both in London. Nico's back home, so I'm not there as often to do stuff with him. But he is an incredible mixing engineer, and just brings like this. I can't even explain it. Send something to him, and I kind of think like, oh yeah, this track is done. Probably couldn't do much else to it, and then he just adds this touch to it that I'm just like, wow, okay, this song now is completely different to what I'd heard in the first place. But yeah, both of them are just amazing, sort of bringing those elements of things where I'm like, oh, this is done now, and they're like, no, it's not. you need to spend a little bit more time on this, and actually we could add this. And I'm just like, how did you come up with that? My brain does not work like that. I just purely put down the keys and the vocals and see what the magic takes over.
You can really hear it like in the tracks. I think we were saying just before you came on, actually, was that like all the people we've introduced so far, they've been artists that they use a lot of sort of, I don't want to say like real instruments, but sort of there's not as many electronic instruments used in the songs they have on Spotify, at least. And so the production value is something, at least with your music, that I can appreciate a lot more, and sort of just hearing, especially like with speakers and stuff, just like the amount of, just in terms of just dynamics and everything that is there, it's absolutely amazing. Like the amount of stuff that's gone into it, and it really, really shows. Like, it's absolutely fantastic music, the way it comes out. I was going to ask then, so like in terms of obviously having a producer and working with a producer, it's not something I've ever done. I don't know if it's anything you've ever done, Johnny. But like, how does the
no, not in the way that Hannah would be working with the producers.
so like, how does the songwriting process sort of evolve with like working with the producer versus like writing? Because obviously I imagine you said you started writing by yourself with a keyboard. Like, how did it start, and how does it look now, and how has it sort of changed along the way?
It was, I think it's always kind of started with me on keys. Fortunately, they've got a bit better, my skills on the piano. I can hear a bit more where I'm going. Still not a pro, but I think it always starts off as the basic just keys, vocals, and then I just sing instrument parts that I can hear, because I've been trying to work on my logic skills, but it's taking a while. And so actually what I do a lot of the time is like, okay, I can hear some brass here, and I'll sing the brass part, and then whoever's producing will put in that brass sound. which is probably a strange way of doing things. Guitar, I can't do that so much with, because obviously there's like a lot of things you could do with the strings of a guitar, and if I'm trying to sing that to someone, it's not going to sound good. So fortunately, Elliot, he's quite good at just sort of hearing if I'm like, okay, here it's sort of around these notes. He's like, okay, I get what you're going for, which is lucky. But yeah, so I think actually in terms of how I songwrite and the process itself, it hasn't really changed at all from when I started. It's still just keys and piano at the beginning, or me singing the parts that I can't quite play yet, and finding ways to work around it. But I think the difference is I'm probably more confident in it. Whereas before I'd be like, oh, I've got this song, I'm not sure about this verse, or I don't know about the middle eight. Now I'm like, okay, I want this. I want it to sound like that. If someone kind of questions why, I feel like I have an answer now. I'll be like, I feel like it should go here because of that. But then they might be like, okay, we could do that, but how about we also try this? And so, yeah, I think that's been the difference in terms of how I songwrite now. It's just having maybe a bit more confidence with it. And I think that's a hard thing to do. I think it takes a while to go, yeah, I did write this, and actually I believe in it, so let's do it. Something like, do you think that's all right? Do you think that's okay there? Oh, should we change this part? That's
an element of like you almost have to kind of like pretend a song into being, in the sense that like, because obviously you start with absolutely nothing, and then you sort of got to like follow a feeling or follow a vibe, and sort of like you have to sort of pretend it enough that eventually it becomes a song, and then it's there.
This is fine.
Yeah. Like, don't stop to think about it too much, and then like then you've got it, and then it's okay, right, I've got it now, and it's there, kind of thing.
Yeah, I think what I keep doing recently is I'll have like a chunk. So I might have the chorus, and I'm like, right, I've got this. And then I just have no clue where the rest of it's going. So I'll just go and record that part of the song. And then I might just leave it for like a couple of months. And one day I'm suddenly like, I've got this verse idea. Oh, actually, that will fit with this chorus. And just bundle them together. That's been happening a lot more recently. Before I used to be like, I must finish a whole song and have the whole thing done. And when you do that, that's quite hard, because I think once you've written something, to go back and be like, okay, is this the best it can be? Maybe you get a bit too attached, or I definitely do. I'm like, I've written this whole song, that must be it, because the whole song just fell out of me, so I can't go back to it. So which is, it's, for some songs I'm sure is great, but for other stuff there's always like other avenues you could maybe try with songwriting. So I quite like at the moment that I'll be like, okay, I've got this section here, and then whether it's a month, a year, 2 days later, I'm suddenly like, I've got something else that might fit with that now.
I think it's cool as well. I guess with that approach, which is something I do as well. Like, I'm so bad at finishing songs. They take me absolutely ages, and I'm guilty of doing exactly the same thing, of like having a really good verse. But like for me, I can't do it out of sequence. So like I have to write the verse first, and then I have to have the chorus, and then it has to sort of carry on that way. So like I'll leave it for 2 months, but I'll leave it like with a verse, and then like I'll come back and have a chorus and sort of do it that way. But
I like that. So you do it in order.
Yeah, which it doesn't always help, because it means that I end up like obviously like deliberating on things probably way longer than I should. But like I know what you mean about the whole sort of precious thing as well. But like I guess it's hard, isn't it, to sort of draw the line, sort of where like at what point is it the best it can be, or do you just fiddle with it forever?
Like well, probably. But is that the best thing? Maybe not. At some point you just have to let it go and go, okay, just gotta put it out. Just
let it out into the world.
Yeah, I mean, I'm curious if like, how did you get to the point where you thought that After the Midnight was going to be the first song on Spotify, officially under? I mean, I guess you were probably writing a lot of more stuff before coming to that song. So what made you decide that was the one, to start with? Yeah,
well, see, After Midnight is actually a really bad example of my songwriting, because I had the chorus there, After the Midnight, and I had those 2 chords on the piano. I didn't have anything else, and I don't know what came over me, but I just decided that I wanted to go into the studio and work on this song.
Yeah, sure.
And I haven't done that with anything else, but we kind of just came together, the 3 of us. I think because it was the first time all 3 of us were actually in the studio working on something together, we had a bit more time to really work out how to write the rest of the song. Like I'd had sort of the instrumentation down and how I wanted the verse to go, but I didn't have any lyrics. So I remember even on the day of recording vocals in the studio, I was still changing some of the lyrics. And I was like, oh, actually, this could sound a bit better. And like at some point, I remember Nico saying like, oh, you could probably take that word out here. And I just thought, this is probably not what you're meant to do. So maybe I shouldn't tell anyone that. I should have pretended I had it ready. But yeah, no, that was the first. I suppose it's because it was the first studio experience, which is so different to anything else. It was quite nice to just take that time and go, I know that this chorus is going to be super catchy, so let's just work on this song until we've got something around it.
That's pretty brave. You just leapt in, just big leap of faith.
Or massively naive.
I mean, how's that changed since, until like you recording Cloud 9 and Breathe Deep? Like, in terms of, is there more of a process now, or is there just like more of a palette? Have you just acquired more gear to do stuff?
Probably all of those things. But at least now I will go in with like, here's the song. This is what we're going to be doing.
Sure. Okay.
What we come up with around that session might change, but like Breathe Deep. Actually, I remember singing Breathe Deep. I had some of the piano parts, and I remember singing it to Elliot and saying like, oh, I've got this idea for a song. And I think like the day before, literally just sat on my kitchen counter and sang it into my phone as like the melody. And he was like, yeah, that's great. We need to work on that one. And then it took us actually quite a while to find the right fit for it. And we kind of left it for a bit. And then ended up finishing it in lockdown. So it's all changing constantly, and I feel like I'm such a hypocrite because I'd be like, oh yeah, I would use this method and do things like this, and then the next time I'm like, I didn't follow my own advice, so that's not very helpful.
What was it like recording in lockdown? We've touched upon this slightly before, but we can talk about it again.
Yeah, that was completely different experience. Doing sort of as we're doing now on Zoom, but all this strange sort of interaction online. But we somehow, Elliot did this, not myself, hooked up his Logic screen and the sound so that I could actually hear it all properly. And I would just chuck over parts I'd put down, and then he would just lay down parts on top of that, and we just see how it all come together. And I don't think I was really expecting to finish any of the songs in that time. I was hoping that we'd get into the studio at some point and get them done. But the latest single I have coming out, that was done completely all instruments, like recorded on iPhones and put in, and just finding new ways to be resourceful.
Sure.
Yeah, it's good though. It kind of made us think about new sounds that I wouldn't have necessarily used before. So
was it literally test. so he's hooked it up, so you're literally, are you getting the signal via Zoom, or are you getting a file and then recording it and then bouncing it and then sending it back?
Yeah, no, he would link it up through Zoom, so he'd share his screen and then he'd set the sound so that I'd actually have the sound of the Logic project coming through, and then we'd phone each other and put each other on loudspeaker so we could talk to each other whilst working on the sound coming through. So it's quite a full-on setup. It took us a bit of time to get there, but it seemed to work okay. And this is I actually brought in a co-writer for the first time ever, Nick Corbin. He's an amazing artist, and he joined us in this craziness that is internet Zoom production, and he was also on this phone call with us, on a WhatsApp phone call, all three of us just chatting to each other. So it's a good way to break the ice.
Just straight in. Into the trenches recording a song.
Sorry, this is it. Here we go.
So what was the process of, so in terms of co-writing, was he a co-writer in terms of the lyrics, or was he a co-writer in terms of everything, or?
Everything.
Everything. So what's it like working with a co-writer, especially someone like Nick Corbin, who's he's quite established. Like what's it like working with someone like that versus like working sort of, with the core group you have already, like bringing someone else in?
Yeah, it's tough. I think there's a fear that you're suddenly adding a new person, is it going to change the dynamic? And unfortunately with Nick, he's just the most wonderful person. So it was kind of like we'd been working together for years as soon as he joined the first session, which was great, and kind of what you need. But it's hard because you're used to being attached, or maybe even like Elliot and I have known each other for years, so we might speak to each other in a certain way, and then you've suddenly got that extra person that you have to be a bit more wary or conscious of. Like, I know I might just be like, I don't like that, and then I'm like, oh, is that a bit harsh to just say that to someone if I've just met them? But I kind of think you have to do that just to get sort of each other's opinions heard, and once you've got that balance between everyone, it's fine. But it's difficult because you worry about once you're stuck with something, if someone suggests a change and you're kind of like, but I really like it. But then you have to try it, because who knows, it can always take things into a new direction. And even then they might be like, actually, yeah, that was a bad idea. And I do that a lot. I'm like, why don't we try this? And then we spend loads of time working on it, and I'll go, yeah, actually it was better before.
I guess you just have to. Yeah, it's just hard. It's like an art form in itself. You have to be sort of honest about what's good and what your end goal you're trying to achieve, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Being honest is probably the key part, I think, because otherwise you're going to end up with a track that you don't like. So there's no point. And I think the point of bringing someone in to co-write with Nick, I already had heard loads of his stuff, and I felt like this song was going to be a good match for co-writing. And so I'd sent him over a very basic demo of me plodding away at the keys again, and he was like, yeah, I can hear that, and I can hear why you think I'd be a good match for it. So I feel like I hadn't gone into it just going, oh, I just need to co-write with someone. I'd sort of heard Nick and was like, he's amazing. It would really add something as well, where I was really stuck with a song. Yeah,
I think I guess it makes you a bit more I imagine there's sort of more fat trimming in terms of stuff as well, because obviously like time is kind of the essence, especially if you're doing it in real time with someone. I've done a bit of co-writing with people where it's been a case of sending ideas back and forth, and so there's a little bit more time for you to sort of collect your idea and be like, okay, I'm happy with this, like feel free to sort of have a look. Whereas sort of if you're having to do it in real time, like it's a bit more difficult to kind of like have those moments of like inspiration that can come like 4 hours into something. Like if you're just sort of there, you have to like think of a word, like, think up a line, think up a word, think up something like now, and sort of. So I imagine this, it must have been sort of a more challenging experience, but at the same time, sort of if you put under that pressure, it does sort of make you pick out what's good and what's not really, really quickly.
Yeah, definitely. I was quite. I sort of said, because it was obviously in the middle of the pandemic and everything going on, I sort of said from the beginning, let's do no longer than 2-hour sessions whenever we work on something, just because everyone's already probably quite stressed with everything going on. And actually even I didn't feel like at the time I could take much more than that. So it was nice to just have an escape, but also go, okay, great, we're going to finish now, and actually go and have like an evening like a normal human if we can. Whereas I've also done sessions where you'll sit in the studio for hours on end and be hitting loads of dead ends, and then having some inspiration and going, is that good? I'm not sure. So it's quite nice to take a bit of time with it as well, actually, and go, well, this isn't time pressured. We didn't feel like we had to have it done by a certain date, but actually as a result, we kind of had it done quite quickly. I wonder if it's because we had that more time to think about it when we were away and go, oh, in these 2 hours, I've got so many ideas. Let's put them all down and then pick out the things we like.
Yeah, definitely.
It sounds like a really good piece of advice, just to, put a time limit to it. I mean, there's moments where you just want to go in, like, after the midnight, no pun intended, but like hours and hours of just writing where you feel productive. But I guess if you're working with people, especially with working over Zoom, it can get quite tiring. People complaining about Zoom fatigue at work, I guess that applies to making music as well.
Yeah, and I think it's just important to take breaks and not make people feel like, because I wasn't sure how it was going to go. I didn't want to be like, hi everyone, we're going to do these sessions for 8 hours and we're all going to sit and stare at this Logic project. It's kind of like, well, let's just
and we're all going to enjoy it, and we're going to have so much fun.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that was kind of the one thing we did. And then actually sometimes we felt we were like, oh, we're on a roll, let's run over a bit because we're quite happy to just keep going. And other times we were like, actually, we haven't got anything today, let's just stop and come back to it.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I think maybe for a massive artist on a label, then might not have the same luxury. They might be like, you need to have this done. But whilst I'm at this stage, then absolutely. This is the beauty of it, I guess, is I can take as long as I want.
For the first time on Sonic Bytes, we're delighted to be able to play a full track by one of our musical guests. And so without further ado, here is Breathe Deep by Hannah Elkins.
There's a fire and it's burning, world upside down, keep on turning, and it feels just like we don't know where we're going. Gonna be alright, pulling us under, we can feel it, held underwater and barely breathing, and it feels just like we're slowly suffocating. Gonna be alright. Breathe deep, breathe deep, breathe deep, breathe deep. And we're holding on to something we can't hold to, even though we try. And the weight has grown so heavy on our shoulders, yet still we fight. We've got to let it go before we lose our minds. Don't wanna lose all control. Gonna be alright. So breathe deep, breathe deep, breathe deep, breathe deep. How can we find our way back out? Can we fall back to the ground? Or is our time over now? How can you hear us scream and shout? Hear our war cries drown them out. 'Cause we're gonna be alright. So breathe deep, breathe deep, breathe deep, breathe deep.
No, because you mentioned the label thing, and because you released via your C Stay Records with your family. I was wondering what that experience is like, how that helps you. Is that a big part of it, or in terms of your release strategy and for your presence?
Yeah, that was so essentially my mum, just to give you a bit of background what happened, 'cause my mum lost all her work, as most musicians, and she's a singing teacher, runs choirs, so lost all of that. And she's just like, my mum can't cope with nothing to do, so she's like, I need a job, I need something to focus on. And she decided that she wanted to set up a record label, and she was like, I can put your music on it. And so firstly I was like, that's great, because if you need just someone to feel like they're investing in you, what better than someone to go, I'm going to make a record label for you. So that was amazing. And also just nice because she suddenly got this insight into all these things I'd been doing that she had no idea came with it, with trying to sort of reach out to radio and trying to reach out to bloggers. And, it's so much more than just doing a song and putting it out. So that was really cool. It was nice to just have that person to share it with and share this sort of frustrating moments. And it's kind of, it's not a really sort of pressured thing. It's more just like she took it on with her partner Ryan, and they're just learning so much about it and hoping, I think they're planning on trying to sign a couple of local artists from home, which would be really nice, because she's just like, anything I can do to help sort of artists, it's really tough, and there's loads of really good music out there, so why not? But yeah, I think the best part that's come out of it is actually just the sort of time we got to share with each other, and just having those moments and having someone to talk about it, because I always get worried that I'm really boring talking to my friends, just saying like, oh, this happened the other day. Oh, how annoying. Oh, I'm talking about my music again. So just to have sort of that little mini promoter by your side, making you feel like you can do it.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so I guess it's quite a recent thing then. I guess you have transitioned to having like a new release process, whereas before it's probably just chucked it online, see what happens.
yeah, exactly that. It was I think Breathe Deep was the first one we put out on the label, so it's definitely very new and fresh, but it's really exciting, and it's so fun just being like, we've actually got a label going. If I haven't achieved anything else this year, then that's a pretty big win.
You have a record label. I guess as well, like,
it's really cool.
I guess also, like, if you're if you are recording and releasing music under your own name as Hannah Elkins, like, it can be quite a I don't want to say lonely, but it can be quite a difficult process, in that, like, because everything kind of, like, although you other people do help you out, it does all fall on you as the figurehead and as the face of the brand. So to have people behind you, kind of, sort of in your corner, on your side, it does really help, just to give you that sense of momentum behind you, that, at least if no one else, the people like who are part of the record label or who are recording, at least they're like, well, this is good, put it out, kind of thing. Yeah,
definitely. It is more just having that confidence, that booster, someone sort of saying, I want to invest this time in making your project work too, which is just amazing. And bless my mum, she's the perfect person to do it, because she has no fear and will call up anyone and just be like, I need to ask you about this. So that's been great. When I might have been a bit hesitant to be like, oh, can I ask? She's just like, yeah, why not? Here's a number, let's call them. So that's been great.
I guess there's a degree of separation as well. I've just got a manager as well in lockdown, nice. And it's nice because it gives you a sense of, there's someone who can look back at you as a brand who's not you, sort of looking at yourself. And so in terms of calling promoters, calling radio stations, it doesn't have to be you going like, I'm really great, can you put me on the radio, please? But there's someone else going, this person's really, even that one degree of separation just gives you, it allows people to do things that you don't necessarily feel like comfortable sort of, or can believe yourself doing. So if you've got someone else to do that, in your stead or on your behalf, it does sort of make it a bit nicer, I guess. Yeah,
definitely. And just someone to bounce ideas off too, and go, I'm thinking of doing this, and they can go, absolutely not.
Yeah.
And you go, oh, well, thank goodness, because I was going to do that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's always helpful.
So you've released, obviously, After the Midnight and Breathe Deep. You have a new new single coming out. Is it this Friday, right?
Next Friday, the 9th.
Next Friday, sorry, the 9th of October.
The Friday after this podcast. The Friday after you're listening.
Yes, the Friday after listening to it. So after that, what are you sort of looking to do? Obviously, I know lockdown's kind of scuppered live gigs and things like that. So like, what are you sort of planning for the future after the next release?
I think, I'm always like, should I say this? Because I'm probably going to change my mind. But
you heard it here first. And if it doesn't come true,
exclusive. I'm going to work on an EP and put it out as a physical vinyl.
Ooh,
is the current plan. As I said, this
I've just
might
bought a
change.
turntable, so I will buy your vinyl when it
There
comes
we
out.
go. First sale.
Yeah.
Me too, I guess so. Yeah. You've at least got two buyers.
Yes.
Perfect. But yeah, I think I think that's the current plan. I feel like, physical right now, with the sort of the way gigs are going, it's pretty tough to be earning through streaming and stuff. So I think it'd just be nice to actually put out a physical product, and also just, have something to be like, that I've actually done this, and have it to be able to hold. I don't know, there's something quite nice about that. I've got another single that's done and ready to go, but I'm not sure on when I want to release it yet, so I'm just sort of sat on that one for the minute. I feel like I've got a lot of stuff kind of ready, but it's now just waiting until it feels like the right moment to do it. And I think normally your gut just kind of tells you when that is anyway. This is the current plan. Hopefully some point next year I'll be putting out a physical product, but we shall see, because as I said, I do change my mind quite a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it is also quite exciting. I mean, it's also scary to release music in this environment, but because no one can predict how things are going to go, maybe your next single is going to be exactly what people wanted to hear at that particular moment. Even though these albums come out in lockdown that are happy, even just listening to someone like Dua Lipa or something, it's like completely not the music that is defining like your life right now, but it also is, it's like the perfect remedy for it at the same time.
That album was so needed. That was so neat. I was ready to dance. I didn't even know I needed to.
And Gaga, and I think, did Jessie Ware release in lockdown as well? I think that was
It seems like a lot. Actually, a lot of my favourite artists, and Lianne La Havas put out her album. In a way, it's been actually a great time for music, but maybe not necessarily the sort of reach that these artists would normally have. And I miss going to watch them and actually being in a room with people listening to music. It's kind of happening again now, starting to.
Slowly,
but there is that fear of, how long, or is it going to go ahead? So, I haven't put any gigs in for the moment, just because I'm not quite sure what's going to happen.
I mean, what was the gigging online experience like in terms of, I'm guessing it was like fairly live, or was it actually like properly live? And because it was really good quality when I tuned in for
the Still Live session. They're amazing. They're the quality is hard to believe it was live. They're too good, but it's really fun. It's great to be in a room with the band again, but you do just miss that live element, and also how much you don't realise how much you feed off a room until you don't have anyone to feed off, and you're just kind of going, I finished a song. I think the worst part was finishing a song and sort of going, silence. Okay, I don't know what to say now. And then I felt really like rushed in what I was saying. I think also when something's not on your terms, it's a bit more difficult, because you're quite kind of like, is there a set thing I need to follow? What should I say? Are people expecting me to talk to them as if it's a gig? And you just can't, because if you say something that you think might have been funny, there's no one there laughing. Apart from maybe your band's in the background kind of trying to half-heartedly keep me going. But they're also going, are we allowed to make noise? It's great to be with the band and be making music, but it's quite tough. It feels a lot harder, I think, than an actual gig, because you do just come off. I mean, I'm assuming you have the same, Leo, when you come off and you've got that buzz of having played to some people. That's the bit you thrive off. So without that, it's kind of like, what now?
It is. It is it's a bit strange. I've done a couple of live streams, and like I got myself like a little like canned applause thing that I push after every song, just like ironically, just to have some sort of like, okay, the song's done now, like, just to give me some sort of like something to kind of like move off of. But like, it is really strange, isn't it? Because you don't like, if a song's landing, if people are like, you can't be like, sing along at home, or like, you sing a line now, because obviously like you don't get anything off of that, because there's no one there. Exactly. There's just a laptop screen. But I guess it's at the same time, I think like any kind of live music, even if it's live stream music, it's still needed, I think. And I think it's one of those things that it's such an intangible part of society in general. Music, it's not, you know, it's not deemed as essential. We're not key workers in the sense that, like, you know, we're not literally saving people's lives, but like I've done work in care homes, I've worked, you know, I've played in schools and things like that, and like, and for those people, you know, it is really, really important for them to have some sort of contact and some sort of music, and just, you know, just to have someone come in and just brighten their day up a little bit. So, you know, it's definitely, even if it is live streamed and like it feels awkward and it feels a bit strange and unnatural, like it's definitely worth doing and keeping going with it, because like someone somewhere is going to watch it and be like, that's exactly, I needed to hear some Hannah Elkins today, you know, and it'll, you know, it'll cheer them up or make them feel better than they did otherwise, you know.
Yeah, well, hopefully. Or they might go, turn it off. Not listen to that again. I actually did do a Zoom one as well. When was it? Maybe June. But I enjoyed that actually, because we sort of had everyone kind of there. And so I could look at them and be like, hi, how are you finding this? And my grandma, bless her, she was there. She's been great on the technology. And she was there. She'd come along with her olives, sat on the video with her olives and her glass of wine. So I could ask her how she was enjoying the music in between, which was quite nice for everyone else there, because they're like, oh, this is actually just Hannah chatting to her grandma. Yeah. So yeah, that was really nice. I think with the live streams as well, maybe I need to have a screen somewhere so that I can see if someone's commented, because the worst part is you have no idea if someone's asked a question. Now I feel really rude, like I've just ignored them, but actually I didn't have anything to even know anyone had said anything at all. So that was a bit awkward. If someone asked a question, I've just completely blanked them. Not intentional.
I guess it's funny because you have to almost interact with the comment section. I've watched a couple like Twitch streams and all that stuff, like people streaming their concerts on Twitch, and I think you can get quite creative with, you know, interacting with the comments. You know, they're sort of there with their emojis, you know, emoji warriors, and and you have to it's interesting. I mean, I'm not really going to be able to do it myself because I'm not like a lead of a band or anything, but I think it's I'm curious to see how people circumvent that issue.
Yeah, I think maybe maybe I'll think about that next time, is just have something there, or at least someone in the room going, oh, so-and-so said this. Hi. Like, I am here and actually talking back to people. But I also realised that I went very news presenter mode as soon as I was presented with a camera to talk to. And at one point I just full on turned around and went, good evening. And I can't watch it back because I'm just like, oh, that is so bad.
Someone's going to turn it into a GIF, right, for you.
Yeah, it's going to happen. The band have already been talking about it, and I'm just like, if you do it, just don't share it with me. I don't need to see it.
Yeah, everyone else can, just not.
Yeah, you can all laugh. Oh no, put me off doing it ever again.
You know when people are making memes about you, though, you've made it though. Like if you are memeable, then that's it. Like as soon as
it's a proper promotion tactic. Yeah,
that's so true.
Oh, good. Okay, but then you can't do it on purpose, can you? It has to be an organic moment.
Yeah, exactly. You can't. That's the challenge. You got to somehow manufacture an organic moment.
And this is it for every time now. It'll just be good evening.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, she's doing it again.
Yeah. So guys, get the phone out. I'm about to do something really, really funny. Just like make sure you film it so we can like actually make it into a meme later.
Yeah, you're gonna just have people like, if you can just make that a bit, and then at the beginning of every performance you make, you just say good evening, and then everyone will start laughing, like people that are in on the joke, and then all these other people will be like, what the hell's going on?
It's just not funny. Like, what did we miss?
Why is she doing that again?
Yeah. I'll think about it. Could be one for the future.
So you mentioned release strategy and stuff. How? Because like again, I've been a fan of your social media presence as well, and I think you do it really, really well. Like, how is it you sort of go about releasing, like sort of building up like the hype for a release, sort of like, and then what do you do after the release? You mentioned Subnet Hub. You mentioned sort of submitting to radio and articles and bloggers, like how is it you go about like building up a like a bit of hype for the release and stuff?
So I use Submit Hub's a good one that I use. Although I was saying you do have to deal with a lot of rejections, but that's fine.
That's just life.
I'm kind of used to it by now. And I also think if you put something on there, just know that you believe in it enough to have put it out there in the first place. So don't worry if it's not everyone's thing. That, and then social media strategies, I'm absolutely rubbish. That is actually my mum going, you need to post and tell people that you are doing stuff. Because I think I would just be that person who's like, oh, I've just put out a song today, and then no one's going to listen because I haven't posted about it. It's definitely, it feels very much a conscious effort at the moment to make sure that I remember to post and tell people I'm doing things. Because it does feel really abnormal, doesn't it, in a way of sort of recording yourself and saying, hi guys, I've got a song coming out.
Good evening.
Yeah, good evening. Oh no, I shouldn't have told this story. No. It's going to haunt me.
We're going to make it a thing.
It's, at the moment it's just, it's all kind of a learning process, and fortunately my mum is good at this stuff, and she's the one pushing me to get in touch with things. And then radio and blogs, it's just doing a lot of digging around. Instagram, to be honest, is great because you can just type in the hashtag of soul or neo soul, blog or whatever you're looking for, and all these things come up. And the amazing thing is actually you can just send a DM to someone and say, hey, I've got a song coming up, think it's a match, and they will in most cases actually just respond and go, yeah, sounds great, or actually this isn't for us. So I think that's been good that I'm learning that, actually, because I think before I was like, oh no, social media, I don't want to be that person that's constantly shouting about myself or trying to slide into the DMs. No one wants to be that person. But actually, it's kind of one of the great things about it is that you can do that. And now I've definitely met quite a lot of people through it as well, just artists and people that I'd like to work with just through doing stuff like that, and getting over myself, I think, a bit. It's definitely just an internal thing that I'm like, oh, I don't like doing this. But yeah, social media is hopefully getting better, but I definitely have to think about it and remind myself to do it. And yesterday I realised that I hadn't really said anything and I didn't have any content to share, so I did just film myself saying, hi, I've got a song coming out. That will do.
It works.
I think you're doing a really great job. So you and your mum,
thanks.
well done.
Yeah, well done, mum. She's like, no, you can't post that. You look awful. Put some makeup on. No, I'm just kidding.
I'm curious if you have any. Speaking of meeting other collaborators and people you might want to work with, is there anyone that you'd like bucket list? Okay, maybe like. If you have two answers, maybe like one where it's like fairly achievable to collaborate with, like a dream collaborator, and one that's like if you could pick literally anyone in the world.
Oh, that's an impossible question because I feel like there's just too many.
Or even it doesn't have to be a producer. It's like just another singer.
I mean, Lianne La Havas would be my dream. To be honest, I think I'd just like to sit in the room while she sings.
Yeah, just exist in the same.
I'll just listen. Don't you worry. If I could just put an ooh in there somewhere, and then I can claim I was on it.
I just clap like on one beat, and just that's me done.
You're like, that's it. That's all I need to do.
Yeah.
I just adore her and her music. I think she's amazing. Jessie Ware, I'd like to get on her podcast so she could feed me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the way.
Yeah. That podcast is amazing and also makes me so hungry. Yeah, I mean, if I could ever get in touch with Jessie Ware, that would be the dream. I think I actually think I've just got too many people that I would absolutely love to collaborate with, but also I think it's a case of also knowing that you're the right thing for them, because there's a lot of times where I'm like, oh yeah, I'd love to collaborate with this person, and people are like, You sound nothing like them.
Don't do it.
Yeah, like how would that happen? How would that even work? So yeah.
I mean,
I guess there's. Sorry, no, you go. You go.
I was just gonna say like that. 9 times out of 10 that is the case, but then again, like there are the one time that it does work, it's an absolutely massive hit. Like I always think of like Lil Nas X and like Billy Ray Cyrus. Like,
oh yeah,
there's no world where that should have happened, where those two people would come together and go, let's make a record together, and it's an absolutely massive hit, you know. And like country rap in America is another one that like I've been into for a little while. My friend got me into it. It's hilarious. And like
country rap.
Oh mate, like I have some things to send you.
Amazing. I look forward to it.
But like, you know, like sometimes when you stick stuff together that you wouldn't necessarily think would go, it actually turns out really well. So, you know, shoot for the stars, man. You never know what you're like, you know.
Yeah. I've got some stuff coming. Again. Well, yeah.
Are you allowed
got
to
some
talk
stuff coming. No, I don't know why I'm like I can tell you. It's just as it's not done yet. We're very much in the early stages, but I'm working with Nick Corbin at the moment on some more stuff. No, I only said that because it's so early days with where we're at with the stuff, but I'm pretty confident we'll have something at the end of it. So hopefully this is the one thing I say that does actually happen. Yeah, he's great. He's like just such a lovely person. He's been very helpful for me actually. I feel like he's maybe been a bit of a mentor at times when I'm sort of going, I don't know what to do anymore. He's exactly what you want the industry to be, especially like with other artists. Actually, there's enough room for us all, so just be nice to each other and help out when you can, and don't feel like you need to cling on to certain things yourself. Like if you have the details of someone that you think actually might be a better fit for someone else, it's okay to pass those on.
Along. Yeah.
I think that for a lot of people, they're kind of scared to do that, or you know, again, if maybe they put someone in touch with someone else and then that person's annoyed that they keep getting all these new contacts that they didn't ask for. So yeah, but he's been great. Yeah.
You are to help other people out, like it does just like it makes the whole thing a slightly more enjoyable experience. And like I've definitely been guilty of like having that kind of like, you know, like I need to really focus on my stuff all the time, but like, you know, the time I have the most fun is playing in a band with other people, you know, and like, you know, making playlists with other people, you know, like helping build other people up feels so much better than just sort of you trying to like claw your way past everybody else, like, you know.
I have exactly the same thing. Also, I think a lot of the time you can be made to feel like you are all on your own and you're the only person doing it. So then you do get protective because you think, well, I had to find this myself. So why should I help this person get it so easily? But if you're in that mentality, I just
that's
don't
a
see
very
how you're ever really going to go anywhere,
it's
because
such a
it is all
poignant
about
thing, I think, especially in
sort
the
of
music
helping
industry.
each other.
Like it's so easy.
And the moment you start doing that, it suddenly opens up these doors that you hadn't even known you could open before.
Yeah, I think like the more accepting you can be and sort of
couldn't agree more.
Yeah, and I guess it's just the start of your collaboration with Elliot and Nick as well. You know, like you guys got so much more to say, so it's not like, you know, suddenly okay, hopefully. I'm going to jump from producer to producer. You know, there's.
Yeah, that was also a big thing with working on the EP and stuff, is, you know, collaborating with different producers, because there's some people that have like a different producer on almost every track, and for me, I felt very much like I found with my little group at the moment exactly what I want to be making and be putting out, and that's that I feel like actually I'm quite lucky to do that, so why change it? I change it right now, and then perhaps in the future I might decide that it needs to change. I had a chat with someone about this actually 2 days ago. He was just like, if you're happy with what you're doing, just stick with it and believe in it and put it out as though you believe in it.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
I think this is just all 100% true.
We're just giving all the truths here.
Yeah, just spitting pure facts the whole time. My head, fact. So one sort of maybe to wrap up, like there's one question I've always been curious about. The sort of like I know you're reasonably sort of like not new to the industry, but obviously you said you only started sort of writing not all that long ago. If you had like a piece of advice you could give to yourself starting out, knowing everything that you know now, what would it be?
I don't know, because I feel like there's probably 1,000 things I could probably tell myself, but whether I'd actually
Do
act
them
on them or do it, it's a different thing. I think probably just go with your gut. I know it's such an obvious one, but I feel like, especially with the new single that's coming out, I feel like it's the first time I've really gone, oh, this is exactly what I envisioned when I went into this song, and it feels completely me. I just feel like this, if I was ever going to put out something that was like, this is me, this sums up me, this kind of song, I feel like is that. But I also know that there's still so much of that to come, and so much of that. And I probably with the next thing I put out will go, oh no, this one now is me, constantly changing it. So, but I think it's that gut thing. And I remember actually I played the chorus of this new song to my mum, Paradise, and she was a bit like, oh yeah, it's nice. And so then I was like, oh, should I do it? Should I put it out? Should I work on it even? And then went to work on it, and she's now like, oh, it's my favourite. So, and I kind of had always known in me that it was the song I wanted to work on, but I had that doubt. So I think it's just, going with the gut feeling that tells you to do it, and be nice to people.
Be nice to people.
Yeah, sometimes it feels hard to do that when you feel like you're struggling all alone, but everyone's in the same position, so.
Yeah, it's literally the only rule, isn't it?
Just
be nice to people.
Yeah, you never know where it's going to get you.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah,
I guess we should
advice.
shout out like where we can find you on Instagram, and where you can find your collaborators on Instagram as well. So
yeah, so it's all I think everything's just under Hannah Elkins Music, at Hannah Elkins Music, and then Spotify and all those things, just Hannah Elkins. And the record label is Seastay Records, all just one word. Seastay Records, because my hometown is Bournemouth, so
okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, coastal, and we thought, oh, that would do. We like seaside. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much for coming on the show. Best of luck with everything going forwards. We're really looking forward to the new release, Paradise, on this coming Friday. And then we wish you the best of luck with everything that goes on.
Oh, thanks so much.
Yeah, nice to get to just know where your music comes from as well, you know.
Or not, maybe. I'm not sure how well I described it, but
We'll see.
I
It's up to the
always
audience
feel
to decide.
I always feel so much more invested in an artist like after I've watched like the making of video, or like I've found out why someone writes a song. So like this, like I was a fan already, and so like now I'm just even more of a fan because I know like everything that's gone on to like into the song. So I can't wait to hear what comes next. It's gonna be awesome.
Basically, the purpose of this was just to make Leo a bigger fan, you know. We talked about this, Hannah, right?
Yeah.
just trying to convert you to buy that physical EP that I put out.
Yeah, this is all a vinyl pitch just to me, basically.
That was the only reason.
Hey, it's worked.
Yes, 2 sales.
Yeah.
It doesn't even exist yet, and I'm like, 2 sales.
I've got 2 buyers
for a non-existent product. Brilliant. Maybe I'll just do that. I'll just take payments for a non-existent product.
Yeah, it's pre-save the vinyl. It's coming.
Oh, funny.
Thank you so much for tuning in to Sonic Bytes. If you liked what you heard, drop us a like or follow us on Spotify, Anchor FM, or wherever you get your podcasts, or drop us a comment on YouTube at Leo Kelly G Music, Instagram at Sonic Bytes, or Twitter at Sonic Bytes Pod. More episodes coming very soon. Stay tuned.